Hi guys, it's Sunday evening. It's and what we're doing tonight, we're doing a live on we're doing a Q&A session on rent to rent. So we've got a fair few people listening online. So as always, I try and spread it across multiple platforms. So we've got Instagram Live, we've got Facebook Live, as well as the live webinar, and we're also live on YouTube as well. So quite a number of different platforms. So I want to say a quick hello. If you're listening to us live, if you can, just give me a quick hi, hello, how are you? How's your day been? So tonight's session is a little bit different to all the other sessions that we've done because predominantly previously we've been going through what the strategy is. And that is great. But one thing I wanted to do this evening was do something different. And I've got one of our students online, and his name's Micheal. And as a result, I wanted to get Micheal on because there's been quite a few, not questions asked, but I kind of get it. When I say I kind of get it, um, sometimes I can make it look easy. When I say make it look easy, I've been doing property for 18 years, and for me, it becomes like second nature. Now, for someone that's just starting out, that may not always be the case. It might be a bit of graft, or you don't know how to start, or get the footing right, or get the questions right, or approach the landlord correctly. I thought, well, why don't we switch it up slightly? Why don't we get someone that's been through that journey recently, and as a result, let's see if we can get them on and share with you guys what he's done within the last few months. And as a result of his actions, let's see if that resonates with you too. So guys, sorry, I'm just conscious of the fact that it's casting a shadow. So for the guys out on the webinar, can you just give me a quick hey? Okay, so we've got quite a few people online. So again, on Facebook, we're live on Facebook, we're live on Insta, we're live on quite a few. So today is interesting. It's going to be an interesting session. We call it a Q&A session because yes, you're going to be firing away questions and we're going to be answering them, but also it's going to be like an interview process as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it runs, and this could be the future for some of the sessions that we run in the future. So, Micheal, do you want to just give us a quick hello? Let us know that you're online.
Evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Okay, so Micheal, don't worry, Micheal. What we're going to do, the format of the process, the format of the session that we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through the basic stuff. So how to, what is rent to rent, so people get a feel of that. So if they don't know, then they will get to know. And as a result, that's when we're going to. So about 15 minutes in, that's where you come in, Micheal. Is that cool?
No problem.
Okay, so straight away, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you so much for trusting me with your time this evening. Time's the most precious commodity, and I guarantee that's the best investment that you're going to make. So, just to give you, if you are watching on the webinar, I've just listed on there all my social handles. So you've got my Facebook, you've got my Instagram, you've got my YouTube, you've got my LinkedIn, and it is always handy to become friends with me on social platforms, because from time to time I do share content with different people in different locations. So if you are friends with me on Facebook, why don't you search for me on Instagram? Why don't you search for me on YouTube and actually get an option, get the ability to watch all my YouTube videos? I think we've got best part 200 videos on YouTube, giving us various different nuggets on various different strategies. And then on top of that, we've got LinkedIn as well, which is more of a business to business. So it works extremely well. So, that's another opportunity for you. So tonight you are in the right place if you want to know about a simple system to follow that is going to bring you more deals. You're in the right place if you've hit the wall when it comes to growing your rent-to-rent business. And you're definitely in the right place if you're looking for some fresh ideas to secure more deals. And I put that in purposely because hopefully tonight, what Micheal says to you is going to resonate with you. It's going to give you some fresh ideas. And you thought, well, hang on, why didn't I think of that? So one thing I am going to say is, why should you listen to me? First of all, my experience in property. So I'm not one of these people that have been on a course and going to then go off next week and trying to get you to run a course on the basis that they've done 1 or 2 deals. Now, I've been involved in property 18 years. Sorry, I just went because today I actually ran a half marathon, and I'm a little bit aching. I'm aching a little bit, to say the least. So we'll talk about that shortly. So I've been involved in property 18 years. So you could say that I've been there, seen quite a bit, and I've got the scars to tell the tales. I run a letting agency. Well, I'm a franchisor of a letting agency called Rent Me Now. I'm an Amazon bestseller of a book called Boom Bust and Back Again. And as the title suggests, it's never always been an easy journey. You can find that on Amazon, by the way, all the proceeds of which goes to cancer charities. And in just under 2 years, I built a massive rent-to-rent portfolio that gives me a recurring cash flow of in excess of 30 grand per month. So I kind of know what I'm talking about. I've got quite a large property portfolio myself, which we own. I've got a portfolio of properties that we don't own, which is a rent-to-rent and the lease option portfolio. And I generally treat that just as a cash cow to generate funds, which then allows me to go off and purchase more properties, do more development deals, and little bits and pieces like that. So the system that we're going to be talking about tonight is the 4-step property management system. It's a system that turns you into an expert property manager. It's a system that gives the landlords everything that they want from their property, which is a guaranteed passive income plus a truckload of other must-have benefits. And the system that we're going to be talking about enables you to make a passive property income without owning a house. And the system that we're going to be talking about tonight is commonly known as rent-to-rent. So hopefully you're in the right place. And so a lot of people ask the question, so what is rent-to-rent? So there'll be people on social media that has never heard of rent-to-rent. So it's where you manage the landlord's property similar to a letting agency. But the beautiful thing with a letting agent, difference between a letting agency and someone taking on a rent-to-rent is the fact that a letting agency will still only manage the property, but the landlord will still be responsible for voids, bad debt, maintenance, and all the other bits. So they'll be the people, the letting agents, who will be calling them and say, Mr. Smith, you know, you've got a broken toilet, you've got a leaky tap, the tenant hasn't paid the rent, blah, 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 blah. Whereas on rent-to-rent, if you, as the investor, take the property off the landlord, in essence, providing that you're offering them all the benefits that you should be, in essence, the landlord shouldn't be hearing from you, full stop. So you're giving them a guaranteed income, which makes it a better deal for the investor than offering it to a letting agency. And as a result, because you don't bother the landlord with maintenance issues, it actually makes it a better deal for the investor than them giving it to a traditional tenant. Does that kind of make sense? So there's started some questions coming in. There's some questions coming in already. So, you know, it's interesting. So just want to say hi to everyone that's watching online. Like I say, we're live on Instagram, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook. And, you know, to be fair, we've got a lot of people online. So again, we're not going to spend too long talking about what rent-to-rent is, because hopefully you would have watched my last 2 videos on what rent-to-rent was. So in short, you rent a property on a single let basis from a landlord, which is pretty normal. Let's just say 3-bedroom mid-terrace house or 3-bed semi-detached house. You then get the permission to rent the rooms out on a room-by-room basis. You rent the property on a room-by-room basis. So instead of running it from one single let, you now turn it into 6 individual lets. And as a result, you receive multiple rents. You pay the landlord his rent, you pay the utility bills, and in essence, you bank the difference. Does that make sense? So I've just done a bit of a diagram for those that are on the webinar. Now, just so that you know, guys, we are going to be shutting the live stream on Facebook and Instagram shortly. So I've actually put the link to join the webinar actually in the opening post or in the comment section below. So guys, just so that you know, we're going to be closing it shortly. If you want to get onto the webinar, please do so. So with rent-to-rent, we've got to imagine that now, what's the best way of describing this? There's this perception in property that everything goes hunky-dory with renting a property out. Now, let me elaborate on that. Now, if you're a landlord or if you're an investor watching this, have you ever had a tenant leave the property causing some damage. Have you ever had a landlord, have you ever had a tenant leave owing you rent? Have you ever had a tenant call you at midnight because they've locked themselves out? Have you ever had a tenant call you at midnight because the tenant upstairs is making too much noise? Have you ever had a tenant call you because the other tenant has borrowed the milk and they think that you're a social worker? In essence, a landlord is no longer a landlord. A landlord is a social worker. It's almost like being a kindergarten teacher. That's the way that I kind of describe it. So landlords have lots of pain and they have lots of issues. So in essence, for us to make this work, we need to find the landlords who have experienced problems with their tenants or experienced problems with their properties and offer them a solution which is going to work out for everyone involved. So the landlord, we need to find a landlord that's got some issues. And there's lots of them out there, believe it or not. Just because they don't display them on social media, let's elaborate on that shortly. Well, no, let's elaborate on that now. If a landlord is advertising a property for let, straight away, as far as I'm concerned, that is a motivated landlord. Why do we say that? Very simply, because at the moment, every day that that property is sat vacant, he's losing money. Makes sense? Because regardless, that property sitting empty, that landlord will have a mortgage to pay, more than likely, unless they've got no mortgage on it, but more than likely they've got some form of leverage on it. They'll then have to pay some form of utility, so council tax and other bills. So regardless, they're not getting anything incoming to pay the outgoing, so they are losing money. Now, as a result, you as the investor should go to the landlord. Hi, Mr. Landlord, hope you're well. You know, I can actually help you. I can actually provide you with something or an offer which is going to make it not only good for you, but also good for us. So it's going to create a real win-win scenario. But in order for us to do that, I need your property to do that. So you then agree a rent with the landlord. We get a contract drawn up, and as a result, everyone's happy. The landlord's receiving his rent. He's not going to be bothered, and it's going to work extremely well. And we've been doing this for years and years and years. Now, rent to rent is not a new strategy. And if you think that it's just popped up yesterday, think again, because rent to rent has actually been going for literally tens of years, more so in the commercial world than it has been in the residential world. It only became trendy in the residential world, I would say, last 5, maybe, well, best part of 10 years, actually, more so when the credit crunch came in, because people were now needing, as opposed to not being able to get leverage or mortgages, they were now looking at other options as to how to acquire properties. So as a result, you shake hands with the landlord and say, Mr. Landlord, don't worry about a thing. You go and sit on the beach, and you know, all tenants assume that we just sit on beaches drinking cocktails and it all works extremely well. Now, as a result, you give him his money, you give him the signed contract, he gives you the keys, and as a result, now you then go off and turn that property into multi-lets as opposed to one big house. You now turn it into lots of little multi-let rooms. There are things that you've got to consider. You know, you've got to understand whether that area is an Article 4 location. You've got to see whether there's selective licensing. You've got to see whether the property is licensable or not, depending on the amount of rooms that you've got to do. So there are certain things that you do have to consider. So let's not all tomorrow go out and straight away offer landlords a load of stuff that you may not be able to deliver on. That's not what we're saying. Now, as a result, one thing that you want to do is then turn the property into multi-let, get the property advertised, get the property let, and as a result, the money that you're going to be income and generating is going to be far greater than the money that you're paying to the landlord. Does that kind of make sense? So that's it in a nutshell. We don't want to elaborate too much on that. So I've been banging on about this over the last couple of weeks as to why now is the perfect opportunity for you to do this. And the reason being simply is, as of the 1st of October this year, so as of a couple of weeks, all HMOs now that house 5 or more people, regardless of the level of floors, will now require licensing, which means that now landlords are running scared. Before, landlords that had 5 tenants on 2 floors didn't require licensing. Now, as a result of the government now bringing in the new HMO licensing legislation, it's not making it more difficult, but it's just put another obstacle in the way for landlords that really wanted to run below the radar. And I've personally seen a massive influx of landlords contact me and said, guys, they said, Arsh, okay, with the new legislation, as far as I'm concerned, it's one more thing that I now need to worry about. If you're prepared to take the property off my hands, I'm prepared to give it you. Let's structure a deal. And I'm getting landlords call me pretty much every day. The beautiful thing with rent to rent, and we're going to talk about the benefits of rent to rent, is the way that I see property investments is that, yes, it's great owning loads of properties, and it really is something that you can boast about. And when you go to networking meetings, I own 5 properties, I own 10 properties, blah blah blah. But the fact is that you don't actually own those properties until you've paid off the debt on those properties, and that may be a 25-year commitment. And let's face it, that is a chain around your neck. Now, the beautiful thing with rent to rent is that you can, dependent on what you've got in that contract, you can put break clauses in to give you break clauses anytime during that process. So as a result, you could put in, let's say for argument's sake, I know that this is quite common in a lot of my agreements, is that I could take a 7-year lease and I could give a 2-month break any point within that period. So in actual fact, I'm very risk averse. And if the property is not working for me, guess what, guys? I'll say, guys, okay, we've given it a go. It didn't work. Here's your property back in a lot better condition than you gave it us. But guess what, guys? I've never had to do that yet to this day. I'm taking the property on only once I know that we're going to be able to make it work. So there's lots of things that are coming into play. So for argument's sake, if you're watching the webinar now, you can see that Section 24 is a big challenge. So landlords are now being taxed heavily as a result. So the fact that they've got to now go off and spend more money on the property to get it up to HMO regulations or to HMO compliance, the fact that they're now having to, so the mortgage costs that they were previously allowed were tax allowable or tax deductible are no longer allowed. So in actual fact, they're thinking, well, if I can get someone just to give me a net rent and a guaranteed rent for 3, 5 or 7 years or whatever it may be, they may think that it's a better deal than dealing with traditional tenants where they have to deal with letting agents, where they have to deal with maintenance, voids, bad debt, and all the other things that go with property investment. So guys, so that's kind of, in a nutshell, rent to rent is still a fantastic strategy. It's a fantastic strategy, and if you do it correctly and you implement it correctly, it can be the best strategy for you, regardless of where you are in your property journey, whether that be you're completely new and you're starting out, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Everyone has to start from somewhere. I started from somewhere, as probably with a lot of the guys that are watching on the webinar right now. So rent to rent is really important. And the reason why I think it's really important is because, A, at the speed that you can do the transaction. So for argument's sake, if you're buying a property, you first have to go meet the estate agent, then you have to negotiate the deal, then you have to agree the deal, then you have to go off and get your mortgage instructor, mortgage surveyor, a mortgage broker. They then put the application in, then the surveyor comes in, you have to make sure that it values correctly. As a result, then you've got to instruct your solicitor. The solicitor then got to speak to the other solicitor, and they spend ages talking between one another. And as a result, eventually you may complete, and that may be between 4 and 8 weeks. And the meanwhile, that money is sat in the bank, not actually doing anything. Now, the beautiful thing with rent to rent is that I could go and meet a landlord today, and by this evening, I could pretty much have the keys. He would assign, providing that he's happy with the contract. I email him the contract, he looks through it and goes, oh, okay, I might need amendments here, here, and here. And that can be done relatively quickly without the use of a solicitor, and keys can be handed over pretty much straight away. It is very low risk. The reason why I say it's very low risk. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we're moving on quite. Sorry, I'm just trying to think where we are in the slide. So it is very low risk. The reason being is when you buy a property, your only way of exiting really is by selling that property. And there is no other way for you to exit. So you can't go to a mortgage company. You can't go to a mortgage company and say, hi, Mr. Mortgage Company, sorry, I bought this property, but it's not really working out for me. Do you mind if we reverse the transaction? And if you're watching on live on Facebook, etc., the mortgage company are very simply going to say, thank you, Mr. Ilahi, for buying the property. Thank you for committing to us for 25 years. But guess what? The only way that you're going to get out is the way that you got in, which is by selling the property and allowing someone else to buy it. Which means that then you have to go through the rigmarole, put it on the open market, wait for people to come and view it, and as a result, hopefully someone will buy it, hopefully at the same or if not more than what you purchased it for. And so, you know, there's nothing wrong with buying property. I would still always suggest buying property because being Asian, owning property is obviously best. But controlling someone else's asset with very little capital down is obviously a great way to do it because A, you're not tying up a load of capital, and as a result, you can take them on at a lot faster rate. All you have to do is simply pay for some of the refurbishment to the property and possibly the furniture if the house comes unfurnished. It's low risk because house prices do not affect you. It's low risk because interest rates do not affect you. It's low risk because it's easy to analyse the right property by researching the tenant demand before you even take the property on. And success only requires your focus and determination. And that's the key. It requires your focus and determination. So when we talk about low risk, the way that I kind of look at rent to rent, I treat it as almost like the hybrid model of property. And the way that I say that is because if you look at all the businesses around the world today, the largest businesses of the world are the ones that are running without actually owning assets. So let's have a look at, for argument's sake, Instagram, the most valuable photo company that sells no cameras. We're looking at Uber, the world's largest taxi company, owns no vehicles. Airbnb is the largest accommodation provider, which actually owns no real estate. Netflix is the largest television company, the largest growing television network, which actually owns none of the content that it puts out there. And Facebook is the most popular media provider, which creates no content. They are simply hybrid models of successful businesses that simply control but does not own. And that is absolutely crazy. So I'm going to introduce people now on the webinar to a young man, 29 years old. And what's really remarkable about this young man is that he decided he wanted to change his life. 7 months ago, he decided, you know what? I was in full-time employment. It's not working out. And as a result, he's gone on to great success. So I'm going to introduce the guys to the webinar to Micheal. So if you're watching this on social media, unfortunately, now is the part where we come to an end. So if you like what we've been speaking about so far, if you want to follow the rest of the content, if you have a look at the comments box in the Instagram, the YouTube, and also the Facebook comments, you'll see the link to the webinar. Log on, follow the rest of the content, and I look forward to seeing you all there. Hopefully you've enjoyed the session. See you all shortly. So guys, that's it. We are live on just the webinar. So thanks for staying with us. So, as I said, I wanted to do something different this evening. I wanted to bring Micheal on because Micheal's been working with me for a short while. Well, I'll tell you what, in actual fact, instead of me talking about what Micheal is or has done, why don't we introduce him? So Micheal, are you online?
Yeah, I can hear you, Arsh.
Okay, brilliant. So thanks for coming online, Michael. Thanks for giving up part of your Sunday evening. Remember, we're only going to be online for we're not going to be online for any longer than 9 o'clock.
Mm.
So, Michael, I've put up on the slide that you're 29 years old. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, Michael, sorry, how do you pronounce your surname without me getting it wrong?
ODEDINA. ODEDINA.
ODEDINA. Okay, so
Yeah.
Michael ODEDINA is 29 years old. He grew up in Peckham, which is southeast London. You're currently living, sorry, I put currently living in Gillingham, Kent. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so before getting involved in property, you used to buy and sell salvage cars. So do you want to elaborate on that?
That's basically there's a company called Copart. I buy like a car that's been damaged through an accident. I send it to the mechanic. The mechanic will fix it, then I'll sell it on.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. And okay. So do you want to? Can you see the slides on the screen there? You see the bullet points that I've put up?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see the
Okay.
bullet points. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. So what do you can you talk us through that?
So yeah, I used to buy and sell the cars, but it used to get frustrating because I'd go and do a viewing on a car, and people would waste my time. People would offer me lower money than I wanted for the car, so I found myself really frustrated at times, to be if I'm honest with you. And then I just thought, you know what, I've had a passion for property, so I thought, you know what, let me go on YouTube, watch some videos, and then yeah, that's how it came about. Falling into rent
Okay.
to
So
rent.
you did the traditional thing. You started watching Homes Under the Hammer, but felt you
Yeah,
needed a hefty deposit to start. So okay, the
yeah,
general perception is that to buy a property, you need the average 25% deposit, 25% deposit. And then on top of that, you need the stamp duty, you need the legal fees, you need the refurb costs, and it can be quite an amount. And especially, were you looking in Gillingham?
yeah. I was looking in Gillingham. Yeah,
Okay, what's the average cost of a house in Gillingham?
I'll say anywhere between 220 to 350.
Okay, okay. So let's keep moving on. So you found yourself watching some YouTube videos on the subject of rent to rent, and you realised that there was actually a way of investing in property without requiring a lump sum.
Yes.
Okay, so let's keep moving on then. So that you then became familiar with the strategy, which is now known as rent to rent and
Yep.
deal trading. We'll talk about both of them because you've actually done both, and we'll talk about the success that you've had in both. Okay, so you went to a few free seminars, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, and off the back of that, you got a bit of knowledge, and then as a result, we then got in contact, and you know, would you say that it's springboarded from there?
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay, and so what's your ultimate goal? What? So you're 29 years old now. Are you
Yep.
married? You got kids? Have you got? Are you still doing the salvage cars or what?
No, I put that on pause. I put it on pause right now. So I'm
Okay.
just strictly focused on property. I don't have no kids at the moment. I've got a partner. That's all. That's it.
Okay, fine. So what's the goal? So where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
3 years time, I want to be buying HMOs using investor funds. 5 years, I want to be doing the big development from commercial to resi, and land developments.
Okay. So do you see yourself? Have you set yourself a goal on when you're looking to retire, or how's it working? So what kind of targets have you set yourself?
If I'm honest, I haven't even set a time to retire. I just want to keep going. I just want to keep going,
Okay.
keep going, build momentum.
Okay, that's interesting. It's interesting that you haven't set yourself a target yet. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. It probably is something that you may want to consider
Yeah,
sitting down and seeing where you want to be, because that will give you a bit of focus.
definitely. Yeah, I agree.
So now everyone can see Michael on screen. So Michael, we took this photo about a month ago. Is that right? Where you came down to one of the live meets for one of the seminars that we do. So okay, so the session that we're going to be holding now, Michael. Are you happy for anyone to ask you anything?
Anything, anything.
Okay, cool. Right. So let's have a quick look. So So straight away, Manny's come in. He goes, my key questions: how did you get started? What did you find most difficult? And what is a tip for success? So just so you know, Michael, before we go on to that, how many properties do you currently have on rent to rent?
Seven rent to rent properties at the moment.
So you've got 7 rent to rent properties, and that's within a period of 7 months. Now, they didn't all fall on your lap straight away. Would you agree?
No, they didn't. They didn't.
Okay, so you've had to do a bit of work. You've had
Yeah.
you've had to put the groundwork in. You've had to understand the strategy. You've had to define your USP, your unique selling point, and as a result, you've had to correct the offering that you offer a landlord. Is that right?
Yes.
So my question to you then, Michael, straight away, what makes you different to a landlord giving it to a normal tenant?
I listen. I listen to what they want, what their issues are, and then off of listening to that, I then come with a solution for them.
Okay, that's good. Well, you know, that's the key. I always say that if you're not listening, you're not learning. If you're not listening, you're not learning. Because when you're talking, you're not listening. And if you're talking, you're not understanding what they're saying.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so the 7, so that we can elaborate on this further. 7 properties, are they of landlords direct, or have you gone to agents?
Okay, first deal was through an agent. Second deal was through direct to vendor. Third deal direct to vendor, and the rest of them through agents.
Okay, interesting. Because people, there's a perception that you cannot get deals from agents.
No, you can.
Okay, so you know, from your point of view, then, uh, what how are agents perceiving you?
It's
So
just
when you're going into a letting agent,
yeah.
do they instantly say, sorry, yeah, we've heard this all before, you know, we're not interested, and they kind of shove you out the door?
No, it's just confidence. It's really just confidence. Just going in, knowing what you're talking about, and then seeing what they've got on the table at that present moment, and then going on the viewing, and you're taking it from there. Just
Okay.
confidence.
Okay, so I'm sorry, it says waiting for the name. It goes, I find agents hard to deal with. Now, okay, so are you only dealing with one agent, or are you dealing with multiple agents?
We've got a good relationship with one agent at the moment. So yeah, I would say one, but I've got a good relationship with others. It's just this is who we've got our properties from. That's why we've got a good rapport.
Okay, so AJ, so someone's called AJ says, is the agent making you do reference checks, credit checks, and all that kind of stuff, or not?
Yes, that was a difficult at the beginning, if I'm honest. The reference checks and credit checks and stuff like that.
Okay, so you had to do credit checks and you had to do reference checks. So have you had to pay deposits on your HMOs?
We paid one deposit on the first one.
So out of the 7 properties that you've done, you've only paid one deposit.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm trying to get through all the questions I can. There's a shed load of questions. So okay, going back to Manny, he says, how did you get started? You know, what was? I suppose the question that I've got to ask you is, what was the light bulb moment? When we talk about light bulb moment, when is the point that it hit you that you said, you know what, I can actually do this?
A YouTube video. If I'm honest, it's a YouTube video, and I said, you know what? Let me find a seminar. Gone to the seminar, got the nuts and bolts of it, and thought, you know what? Let's got some training, and I went to go for it. I went for it.
Okay, so are you doing this yourself, or are you doing this by yourself, or are you doing this
No,
with a
I've
business?
got a business partner. I've got a business partner.
So yeah, his name's Kazim, is that
Kazim,
correct?
yeah, that's Kazim. Yeah.
No, between you, you've got the 7 properties between you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say that you found most difficult?
Most difficult. What was most difficult? I would say it was just like practicing, rehearsing, getting everything like packaged, like knowing what to say to the agents in my particular style. Like, you know, when I go to agent, I don't want to sound like I'm reading a script. I want to go in with confidence, like I know what I'm talking about, and it just flows. So I would say that's the hardest part.
Okay, so just so you know, Michael, Michael, you'll know this, but I'll say this to everyone. If someone says to you that there is a script about rent to rent, I would walk away from them. There is no such thing as a script, because every property and every conversation that you have is going to be completely different. And if they think that you're just relaying off a script, that means that you're not building rapport. And as a result, that means that they're not going to believe in what you're saying, which ultimately means that you're not going to get the property.
Yeah.
Okay, so Charles, I'm just picking random questions all over the place. So do you have a JV partner? And if you do, did you have one from the start?
No, we didn't have.
So I suppose the question there is, initially the funds that you required for the deposit, etc., were they your own funds? Is that money that you'd saved from your previous business, or did someone come in and put some capital in?
No, that saved money. Is that we had a little pot to begin with.
Okay, right. Okay, and which areas are you currently operating in?
Medway, and we've got one property in Watford.
Okay, so you got Watford and Medway. Okay, so I'm not going to even try to assume that I know my geography of the UK and towns and cities. I see properties in every single city and town pretty much every day or every week, just because of the scale of what we do. So it'd be interested. So I don't know. So straight away. So some people are offering you JV. So a chap called AJ says we'd be interested in JVing with me in London. I'm in North London. So straight away, can you see opportunities are going to open up for you?
Okay.
Go on. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, so that's good. That's good. I like opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So there's lots of questions. So so Joe's come in and says, how do you manage the one in Watford? So how far is the Watford one away from you?
Watford is about an hour away from me, but my business partner would sort out the one in Watford because he's a lot closer to it.
Okay. So are you currently self-managing all 7 properties?
Yes.
So over 7 properties, how many rooms is that?
That's 34 rooms.
Okay, so you've got 34 rooms over 7 properties. So I'm just going through all the questions. Okay, so let's say, so a chap called Ifran has said, for rent to rent, it seems that you have to put in the initial investment to add value to the property and turn it into HMO, i.e. put the locks in a make a good communal area. What's the chances you make this money back? For example, the rent for 3 bedroom is 1,500 and you pay £3,000 to put the locks on and provide communal area. And you get 550 a month. You're not really making much over the cost. How do you do the maths, and what is notes worth a rent-to-rent arrangement? So I suppose what he's asking there is, how do you appraise the situation? How do you appraise the deal?
Appraise the deal. Okay, I would charge. I would add it as £65 a room minus the monthly rent, and that will give me my profit basically.
Okay.
For the bills, yeah.
Sorry, no. So he's talking about how do you appraise a property? So not only to generate to see is the property worth it or not.
Okay, you check spare room. Check spare room. Check the current room rates in that area. Then you add it together to see the amount of rooms basically in the property, and then you do your maths like that.
Okay, so on all the deals that you've got, have you negotiated? Have you negotiated on any of the rents, or have you just gone in at full market rents?
I always try to negotiate. Always try to negotiate. Don't.
Okay, so can you give us an example of a property? So for argument's sake, what I'm trying to get across is, let's say if the rent was 1,500, what would you have gone in at?
I'll go in. Sometimes I'll go in cheeky. I'll go in probably at 11.50.
Okay, so you're going at 11.50, and then and then at what point do you walk away?
I'll walk away when I realise that the profit in this property is going to be any less than £500.
Okay, so AJ's wanting to know your contact detail. AJ, if you contact me tomorrow, I'll put you guys in contact. We'll go from there. Okay, so Jerome says, okay, what do you say to negotiate the price down? What makes you special? Why would someone give you a discount? Why doesn't the landlord just rent it out for full for themselves?
Because what you need to realize is that if a landlord rents out for himself, he's going to spend a lot of time managing that property. If he gives it to an agent, he's going to believe he's getting a certain amount back, whereas he's not. So my job is to show the landlord that, okay, you renting yourself, it's not armchair investment. You give it to an agent, you're not going to get that much back that you think you're going to get back. You're looking at the gross rent thinking you're going to get that back, whereas that's not what you're netting. This is what you're going to be netting if I'm in control of your property, and that tends to work most of the time. It's just a numbers game, really. And once you show them the numbers, then nine times out of 10, they're going to go with you.
Okay, cool. No, that's good. That's good. Okay, so yeah, we've got a shed load of questions coming in. I don't think we're going to get through all these. So, question then: in all your HMOs, in all your properties, did you take them as single lets, and then have you had to turn them into HMOs, i.e., put the fire doors in, fire alarm in, etc.?
We only had to do that with one property.
Okay, so have you taken on existing HMOs then?
Yes, I had a landlord with an existing HMO and I just jumped all over it because it was ready to go.
So remember, okay, so just for the guys on the webinar, remember what we said earlier. You don't always have to just get single let. Remember what we talked about pain, motivation. You know, some landlords are probably sick of managing their HMOs because they've got tenants calling them saying that they've borrowed the milk, they've borrowed the ham. You know, they've got one tenant that's got all his mates coming around. You know, it happens. You know, I'm a HMO landlord, quite a large HMO landlord, and I hear it all day. You know, but in the same respect, I've got teams in place that can take action to make that happen, to deal with it. So I'm not personally having to deal with it, but we see it in our office every day. So a tenant calls and said, the tenant upstairs is playing his radio and I can't get to sleep, I've got to go to work, you know, and then if I only had one or two properties, I'd think, you know what, to be fair, is it really worth the hassle? But as a result, because I'm a scaled landlord, you know, we've got the best part of 1,100 tenants. We've got systems and procedures in place to deal with that. You know, it is something, and we've almost got like an action list. If it happens once, we give them, almost like a slap on the wrist. Second time, they're going to get a notice. Third time, they're out. Yeah, so it's like a three-strike approach. Okay. Okay, so the HMOs that he took, so this is an interesting question from Philip. He goes, the HMOs that you took over, were they completely vacant or were there existing tenants in there? And did you have to take them on or did you get new ones?
The one I took on, I've had an empty one and I've had one with one tenant in there.
Okay, and then did you keep that tenant in and then, or did you,
Yeah,
have you kept them in there?
I kept them in, yeah, I kept them in that property,
Okay,
yeah.
so just so you know, don't be afraid to take on a tenant. Don't be afraid to take on a HMO if there's tenants in there. If anything, that's only a benefit for you because they're going to be income generating from day one, which minimises the risk, the amount that you have to pay to the landlord from day one. However, the one thing that you want to make sure is that if you are taking on existing tenants, you want to make sure that all the paperwork's in order. So from, say, their deposit, the deposit that they've been served with the correct documentation from day one, and as a result, you want to make sure that they're not defaulting on their rent, that they're not got bad debt or voids, etc. And as a result, only if they're a good tenant you keep them. Otherwise, you don't want to inherit someone else's issue. If they are a problem tenant, you know from day one, you know, perhaps that's the reason why the landlord's giving you the property, and that's perhaps why you're probably getting the property so cheap. And so you have to take that and you think, well, okay, I'm going to get 2 months worth of aggro whilst I give this guy notice. But when you calculate that into your figures, that's not always necessarily a bad thing. Now, question for you, Michael. What's the average cash flow per property for you? So the 7 properties, what's the average cash flow? So is it 800? Is it 1,000?
I'll pay anyway, yeah, 750, 800. 750, 800 pounds.
So your sweet spot is 750 to 800 a month?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Right, so let's keep moving on. Sorry, I'm just trying. I'm going. We've got so many questions. Just trying to figure out. So, have you come across any pitfalls so far of rent to rent? So, has the landlord tried to approach you to try and take the property back? Have they tried to say, Michael, okay, thank you very much for turning it into a HMO now. I can see that you've done a load of work and that you're making a lot more money. Can we negotiate on the rent?
Never. The worst one I had as a nightmare tenant, but they ended up leaving anyway, so it worked out.
Okay, so straight away. So I'm assuming with the properties that you're taking on HMO license wise, have you put the onus on the landlord to get the license and put you down as a property manager, or have you, as the landlord, asked you to get the license on the property?
The landlord asked us to get the license.
Okay, so you've got all the properties licensed and they're in your name, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So right, so Jen has asked a question. If you're trading a rent-to-rent deal, do you walk away after the contracts have been exchanged and you get paid, or are you involved in the refurb, marketing, maintenance? We don't know the investor will do a better job for the property than the original landlord. Okay, so Jen says, so just so you know, so actually, in actual fact, Michael, I think we've jumped the gun here. So tell us, as well as doing the 7 rent-to-rents, in that 7-month period, what else have you done?
Managed to package and sell 7 doors as well.
Okay, what kind of deals were there?
These were rent-to-rent deals. No, sorry, lease options.
Yeah. Okay. So in that respect, so not only have you set up 7 rent-to-rents, you've also traded 7 lease option deals. Okay, where were they?
6 of them were in Sunderland and 1 of them was in Liverpool.
Okay, fantastic. So just going back to Jen's question then. So once the documents have been signed, as far as you're concerned, is the deal now the investor's property, or did you help with the marketing and the refurb, etc.?
No, I didn't help. As soon as the investor went to see the property and was happy with it, we walked away.
Okay, so likewise, Jen. So as far as we're concerned, as soon as the property is viewed, the person has viewed the property and made sure they're happy with it, they know exactly what they're taking on, and as a result, they've signed the contract. As far as they're concerned, that is then their property. So if they want assistance with maintenance and stuff, I've got people in place that could actually do the maintenance, but obviously there's a charge for that, for the management of the time. But other than that, they are pretty much out there going to have to do it. Okay, so someone's asked, what happens if the owner doesn't pay his mortgage and you have the house full of tenants? Has that ever happened to you, Michael? I don't suppose it would. Okay,
No.
I've had it happen to me once.
Wow.
And what actually happened is that we went to the property. Well, my cleaner went to the property and she saw a load of letters landing on the doorstep for this landlord, and one of them is a notice of repossession. So we could see the notice of repossession. We called the landlord. He asked us to open the letter, and we read the letter out over the phone to him. And he hadn't been paying his mortgage, and that's where he confessed that he was having some financial difficulties personally. And as a result, because we had a 5-year contract still left to run on that property, the mortgage company had to honour our contract. They can't boot us out on the basis that there wasn't a break clause, so they had to. There wasn't a break clause from the landlord's point of view, so they had to honour us the 5-year deal. So it all depends on to what you offer in the contract. Okay, so someone said can everyone hear correctly? Okay, so Victor has asked, Michael, are you doing service accommodation as well, or is it only HMOs that you're running?
No, I'm just doing HMOs, no service accommodation.
Okay. Right, okay. Okay, so only doing HMOs. So right, so Jeff says, so Michael, where you get your contracts from? Arsh, can you supply the contracts between the investor and the landlord? Okay, so I'll talk about the contract shortly. So, Michael, do you mind if I tell them that, just confirm that you're actually using the contracts that I've supplied you with?
Yes, 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 please, yes.
Okay, perfect. So, right. So so Rob has asked a question, how did you find the lease options? Now, this is an interesting question. Rob, so Michael, how did you find the lease options? And
Facebook, on the
sorry, whilst we're asking, Jerome asked, did you visit all of the 7 properties you deal packaged?
No, I visited the 6 in Sunderland, but I didn't visit the property in Liverpool.
And you visited the 6 in Sunderland just purely because the landlord wanted to meet you, and also because you wanted all the properties were all in one little cul-de-sac. Is that correct?
That's right, yes.
Okay, so interesting. So Manny has asked, how did you find the deals? Now, just so that you know, Manny, I was actually helping Michael with the lease options, and what he had actually found is a tired landlord. And as a result, he was happy to do a rent-to-rent. But then, as it transpired, as we started to go through the detail of the deal, he actually wanted to sell. So in essence, what we did is we attached the option to purchase in there. So Giuseppe's asked a question: maintenance. Do you use multiple operators, or have you got just like a full-time maintenance guy, or who are you using for maintenance?
We got a maintenance guy that goes to the properties. We use our own maintenance guy.
Okay, so you've got your own maintenance guy.
Yes.
Okay, so Phil's asked, what net profit are you making per month? So just Phil, we already covered that question. So what was it again, Michael? Between 750.
Yeah, each property.
So between 750 and 850 per property per month.
Yeah.
Okay, so Margaret has asked a question. She goes, in your contracts or in the property that you've taken on, what is the landlord responsible for? So for argument's sake, have you worked it so that anything internally is your responsibility? And
Yes.
the
Boiler and structural issues the landlord is responsible for, and any little jobs like block toilets and things like that, we will take care of.
Okay, so yeah, so you've structured it so the landlord's still responsible for the larger items, for argument's sake, the boiler. So just so you know, out of the 45 rent-to-rent properties that I've got, I don't. The way that I negotiate it personally is that I look after anything internally of the property, and the landlord looks after anything externally. Barry has asked a question. He goes, I assume this strategy is very much about location. Is it common in Scotland? Barry, just so that you know, you can't actually do rent-to-rent you can't actually do rent-to-rent in Scotland because they've got slightly more legislation. However, what you can do is structure it in a slightly different manner, which is still the same, but it covers a few different angles. So it's not, you can't actually do lease options well. So what you'd have to do is predominantly an exchange with a long stop completion. And the exchange could be with something as little as £1. So there are ways that you can do it. So sorry, I'm going through a lot of the questions. Okay. So Michael, are you doing all the checks on the tenants? So for argument's sake, deposit checks, immigration checks, the right to rent checks, and all the other standard AST conditions?
Everything, yeah.
Okay, so you're giving your tenants ASTs, you're not giving them licenses, are you?
No, we're giving them money ASTs.
Okay, so what on average, how much are you spending on maintenance? Sorry, not maintenance. How much are you spending on bringing the property up to standard? That's quite an interesting question.
That's very interesting because one of our properties came furnished, and we've had another property that we came unfurnished. So the one that came furnished, we spent about 1,400 to get all the bedding and things like that. And on the other property, we spent about just over 2K to get it furnished with beds, everything.
Right. So sorry, I lost you there, Michael. What was that?
We spent about £1,400 to get up to standard. That's bedding, cutlery, pots, pans, everything that needs to be in there.
Okay, interesting. So Joseph's asked a question, goes, if you were trading a rent-to-rent deal, would you let the investor use your contract?
No.
Okay, so Joseph, just so you know, if you're trading a rent-to-rent deal, you would, in essence, try and get the contract drawn up. You try and get the contract drawn up because, in essence, you're the intermediary. And as a result, because they're using your contract, everything should go according to how you see it. And so you're in control of the deal. Okay, so what's your tenant profile? Is it workers? Is it benefits? Is it
No,
is it
professionals, just professionals.
okay, so just professionals, you only do professional workers, yeah?
Yeah, professional and postgraduates as well.
Okay, interesting. So okay, so you do postgraduates as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to think of it. With a lot of the questions that are coming through is stuff that's already been answered. We've got 4 minutes, guys, just so you know, for the Q&A. So if there's stuff that we haven't covered, now's your time to ask for it. So questions. So the landlords that you found, where did you find them? So that's a question from Yvonne. And roughly, how much money have you needed to get started?
We found Gumtree and networking events, and how much we had 5K in the pot to start with.
Okay, so that's between you. That's between you and Kazim. You had 5K.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So did you open a company before you started?
Yeah.
So Yvonne's asked a question: do I need to have a company open before I approach landlords that can manage their property, or did you just start by making phone calls and thinking, well, hang on, if I get a property, then that's when I'll start the company?
There's no wrong or right answer, but me personally, we set up the company first, and then that's when we started calling landlords and agents.
Okay, fine. And so you've gone through them directly. Okay, so JD has asked an interesting question. How many landlords would you aim to get in contact with per week?
To be honest with you, I just go flat out. Like I'd wake up about 9 and call landlords to about 5, 6-ish all day. So I'll say on average, about try and speak to like 40, 50 people a day.
Right, okay. And then as of the 40, 50, what do you do? Do you break it down? Have you got kind of like a CRM system or like a...
Yeah. Because some people say ring me tomorrow. Some people follow ups. Just have a little system there. I got a system.
Okay, so so you've got a follow-up system. So okay, so one of the questions that's going to be quite popular on here. Someone said that it's interesting that you didn't pay a deposit. How did you get around that?
The deposit, just because as a company, that what we say is that we need our money working for us. So if we just park our deposit in, if we just give them a deposit, that we can't put work in their property. We can't bring their property up to speed. So they can kind of understand that, because you need money to bring the property up to speed to rent out quicker. You understand? So that's
Okay.
I explain to them.
Okay, so AJ's asked a question, goes, what advice would you give to someone else just starting out? So if you had to give someone, if you had to give someone a golden nugget bit of advice, what would you give?
Get educated.
Okay, so get educated. So when you say get educated, are you talking about watch all the videos on YouTube, speak to people in the know, understand what it is and how it is, and then work from there?
And then go from there. Yeah.
Okay, would you suggest to someone? Okay, so Jerome has asked, how are you getting to these landlords to call? Is it via Gumtree or you estate agents? Well, if you're going through estate agents, let's face it, estate agent isn't going to give you the landlord's details. So you would need to either then get to them directly. Does that make sense? So Theo has asked, does Micheal and Kazim have a break clause with any of their contracts? And if so, what it is, what are they? So have you put a break clause in any of your contracts?
Yeah. We usually tend to go for a 3-month break clause. We try and get a 3-month break clause.
Okay, so any point in your contracts, you've got a 3-month break clause.
Yep.
Can the landlord give you the same or not?
Yeah, he can do.
Okay, so in that respect, you give the contract has to be fair. If you give a 3 month break clause, then in essence you could say that they've got to have the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So you give a 3 month break clause at any point if the landlord. So you could structure it in a way where, for argument's sake, the landlord couldn't give you your 3 month break within the first 2 years to allow you to get money back.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken deposit insurance out or not?
Deposit insurance? No.
Okay.
We get rent guarantee on the property, not deposit repaid. We don't know.
Okay, interesting. Right. Are you? So is this now your full-time occupation?
Yeah, this is it. I've got everything in this. Yeah.
Okay, so fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, so Michael, that comes to 9 o'clock. So what we're going to do, stay online for a second because there's going to be a few other questions that people are going to come through. So one thing that I'm just going to quickly mention is that I've managed to get Michael and Kazim. And the reason why I'm doing this is that I managed to get Michael and Kazim to come and speak at the Rent to Rent Masterclass. So I'm running a workshop on the 20th and 21st of October 2018 in Birmingham. The link that you can see there below. And on the workshop, it's a 2-day where I will be running it, and I've got Michael and Kazim going to be there for the full 2 days. So if you've liked what you've heard from Michael, we're going to be showing you the fastest, cheapest, and the most profitable way to set up your rent-to-rent property. We're going to be giving you the so just like I gave Michael and Kazim, I'm going to be giving you the cost guide for furnishing and furnishing it so that you do it on a cost-effective manner. The top ways to find landlords direct and how to elegantly persuade landlords to do business with you over anyone else or doing anything. How to find an endless supply of tenants. Now, the one thing, do you mind if I say this, Michael? Would you say that the cash flow calculator that I provided you guys with is probably been the lifeline of all the stuff that you've done?
It's a godsend, 100%. It's been
basically, the cash flow calculator is pretty much where Michael and Kazim, all they do is they put the figures in there and the calculator will calculate everything for you. Does it work? Yes or no as a deal. So you're going to get a copy of that. So as a result, you also get a recording of the entire course that you can always refer to and all the presentation slides. You also get the contracts, the management contract that you give to a landlord. You also get lease contracts if the landlord's got no mortgage on it, and we'll even give you a common law contract as well. We'll even give you the AST contract that you should be issuing your tenants because you shouldn't be giving them licenses. We'll give you the guarantor documents and all the documents that you require to make sure that you're going to be running your business in a compliant manner. Now, what's more important is that I'm going to be showing you how to market the property. Oh, sorry. How to target the properties correctly. So the marketing letters to the homeowners, how to target the landlords on the HMO register, and the landlord persuasion spreadsheet. So that's a cash flow calculator showing them, because let's face it, landlords, if they say that they're achieving £500 a month, that means that they're generating £500 a month. But in actual fact, they're not. And I'll be showing you, in actual fact, if you break it down bit by bit, you can actually show them that they're not actually generating as much as they think they are. So you'll get access to all the checklists, and you'll get access to showing you how to make all your rooms stand out online. So part of it is showing you to make sure so Michael, just out of curiosity, out of 34 rooms that you have, how many rooms are vacant as of today?
Right now, 2 rooms.
Okay, so you've got 2 rooms unoccupied.
Yep.
Okay. So what are you doing to get those filled?
I just dropped the point of entry. So we're going to see how that goes this week. So hopefully by the end, yeah.
So what we've done is I've shown Michael a couple of tips as to how to get those properties, making them the most competitive rooms in that location. So to get yourselves booked on, so I believe we've got 5 seats left. So if you want to get yourself onto the 20th and 21st, which is next weekend. Now, I admit that it is short notice, and the cost of the workshop is £997. Now, there are going to be some people who say, "Arsh, I can't get there next weekend." I completely get that, but in actual fact, we actually give you 3 ways of being able to take action with this. So the first one is that you attend live, so you'll get to meet me, Michael, and Kazim next weekend in Birmingham. Alternatively, if you can't get there in person, the other option is that you can live stream the whole event from the comfort of your own home. It's exactly the same price because you get all the documents emailed to you prior to the event. As a result of that, you can ask us questions. We're going to be doing a load of role play, so just so that you know what we're going to be covering on the day. Here's a couple of things that we're going to be doing on the day. So we're going to be showing you how to identify and how to dominate your gold mine area, how to get in front of a large amount of landlords, how to create a high-end finish for low cost budget, how to actually negotiate with agents as well, which is a massive, you know, from what I've seen from the webinar today, is that that's one of the biggest challenges that a lot of people don't understand how to speak to agents, and as a result, because the agent doesn't understand what your offering is, that's why you're not getting the property. We're going to be doing live calls in the room. We're going to be showing you how to go direct with the agents, how to go direct with landlords. There's going to be a massive role play. We're going to be showing you, if you don't want to take the properties on yourself, how to package them up to sell them as a deal. And more importantly, we're going to show you how to be legally compliant and avoid the pitfalls, and how to calculate the numbers on the profit on each deal. So that's day one. So in day two, we're going to be showing you about the buying patterns and sales psychology, and we'll be showing you the exact process for taking a prospective landlord from the first letter, phone call, to making an actual deal. I'll be showing you how to actually overcome the objections, and how to we'll be performing live interactions, so live calls on the day, and we're going to be hoping to get people in the room, some interviews are the wrong word, but some actual viewings on their property over the next few days. Now, one thing that we say is that on everything that I offer, it's always 100% money back guarantee. So if you come to the workshop, you actually risk nothing because you're covered by a 100% money back guarantee. And here's how it works. If you attend the first day and you don't like it, all you have to do is say so, and we'll give you a full refund. No questions asked, no forms or hassles to fill out, no problem at all. Now, here's another guide. So JC is quite an inspiration, should I say. He attended my workshop in Jan 2015. A year later, he had 18 properties. Now, I see Michael and Kazim following in the footsteps of someone like JC, and his property portfolio is actually in Croydon. So you can see how he actually went from 0 to 15 houses in a very short space of time. Here's Girish. I talk about Girish a lot. He's still a very good friend of mine. He was on a large salary of 120 grand working as a surgeon in Birmingham. Now he's got a property portfolio, he's got a rent-to-rent portfolio, I think of about 10. Last time I spoke to him, it was 10 properties. It may have increased. And these guys are just ordinary guys that wanted to break from the norm of the rat race. And as you've heard from Michael today, the question is, are they actually any different to you? The answer is no, they're not. All they're doing is they're putting their doubts aside for long enough to give this a try at no risk to them. And they've achieved unbelievable results. And, you know, I'm extremely proud of people like JC, Girish and Michael. And I could talk to you about, I could talk to you for such a long time about all the other people that have been on the workshop and have gone on to great successes. Because I'm a person that, you'll see on the emails that we send out day to day. And I get that we send out a lot of emails, and I make no apology of that. I make no apology because we send out some fantastic deals. And the fact that you can see that we're doing rent to rent, the fact that you can see that we're doing lease options, the fact that you can see that we're sourcing some fantastic below market value deals, you can see that we're the real deal. I haven't been on a workshop last week and I'm teaching it this week. I've been doing this, I've seen the grind. And so I know exactly what to say to a landlord. I know exactly what to say to an agent in order for us to get that deal over the line, because we want to monetize every lead that we do. So 3 ways of attending. You attend in person and take advantage of the networking opportunity. You can live stream from the comfort of your own home, or you can just, if you wanted to, you can say, sorry, Arsh, I can't live stream or I can't attend, but you know what, I'd love to have the recording of it so I can watch it at the comfort, when I've got it, and you can watch it back and back. Everyone that comes whether you by the live stream or whether you attend, you'll always get the recording for it as well. So one thing I'll say is just imagine not having to do a day's work for anyone else for the rest of your life. You know, no more boss, no more commuting, no more pressures. The one thing that I will say to you is the one thing that I learned today. I did the Birmingham Half Marathon today. Is to start with, it will not be easy. But with the running, I don't find running easy. In actual fact, I hate it, but I stick with it. I consistently stick with it. I consistently try and better myself. I train Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays so that I can get quicker every time. And the same with rent to rent. The more calls you make, the better you become. The better you become, the better the deals are. Like, I stripped 5 minutes off my PB today. And admittedly, I beat myself up because I wanted to do better. I wanted to strip 20 minutes off my PB. Let's face it, it's not achievable. But if I know for a fact that if you guys were to sit there and make 20, 30 calls a day, which is 150 calls a week, and that sounds like a lot of calls, but believe it or not, you need to make the calls initially to get your flow. You need to create that USP. You need to understand what agents are asking. You need to understand why agents are asking. You need to understand what you're offering to the landlord is better than anything else that's out there. And this is what I'm urging you to do. You've got to learn these secrets. When I say no risk to you, because I'm offering you 100% money back guarantee. If you don't like it after day one, just say, you know what, I'll shut up for me. But to get your seats on the 20th and 21st, all you got to do is copy that link below. We are closing this offer, just so you know, guys. I think we're going to be putting the deadline on this come Monday, Tuesday, because we would have sold out and got the seats filled. And all you can do is simply follow the exact same footsteps that I've taught people like Micheal, Kazim, JC, and Girish. It's not broken. And more importantly, with the likes of Section 24, with the likes of the new HMO legislation, now is the time to take action. The amount of landlords that we are taking on right now as a result of the new legislation, it's perfect timing. We're still 3 weeks into it. By the time that you guys come on the workshop, 3 to 4 weeks into it, landlords will still not have created that solution within that period. So just so you know, I'll put a picture of Kazim. So this is Michael's business partner, and he came to me in June, and he goes, "This man next to me is a genius. His approach in property is one of a kind, and I'm blessed to have him as one of my mentors." So that's Kazim. We've seen Micheal earlier on. And to book on the last seats, all you got to do is go to the link which is below and get yourselves on there. Okay, so right, okay. Let's keep moving on. So I suppose we're going to have 10 minutes of another Q&A session. Sorry, I'm just quickly. So, okay. So Dell says, I will be abroad from the 17th to the 29th of October. What are your November dates in Birmingham? So we don't have November dates, is the honest answer. Dell, just so you know, I run this workshop 2 weekends in a year. So I did the first one, I think, in March. I've done this one now. I don't run them very often. The reason why I ran them is because I get lots of people. I get lots of people contact me every day saying, when are you doing the next workshop? And the honest answer is, I don't really do them. I like to work with people like Micheal and Kazim that are on more so the mentoring programs that I run. And if you want to know about that, you can go to elitepropertytribe.co.uk. Giuseppe said, did you get a medal today for doing the marathon? You get a medal every time you do a half marathon or every time you finish the line. So yeah, every event that I've done, every event that I've done, I've walked away with a medal. So that's something. But for me, it's not the medal. It's the fact that I've turned up, the fact that I've done it, and I've got better at it, and I'm still learning on the track. Like one of the guys that I ran with today, he beat his personal best by 15 minutes. Now, admittedly, I find that hard to swallow, but in the same respect, there's I'm still learning. I want to get better at it, and that's the same with rent to rent. If you're still learning, you've got to be the best you can be at it. Okay, so AJ's asked a question. He goes, what's your biggest takeaway since starting rent to rent with Arsh?
Biggest takeaway, I would say you keep learning. You keep learning. Every day is a new day, so you just got to keep learning.
Okay, so when you say learning, what is this stuff that you're still learning, or what?
Yeah, that no 2 days are the same. Basically, as in, there's better ways to market your properties. There's better ways to structure the deal. There's better ways of looking for landlords. Just different things. You learn different things every day, or every week, I say.
So every landlord that you speak to is something different.
Exactly. Yeah. So you only get that.
Okay, so sorry. So Giuseppe said, "Is there no close date for this offer?" So we're closing it on Tuesday. We're closing it on Tuesday. So yes, Giuseppe, there is. So because the workshop's next weekend, obviously. So we're closing it on Tuesday. Okay, so Jacqueline says, I'm really interested in rent to rent deals. Jacqueline, if you're not on my mailing, you should be on my mailing list, but if you're not, you can go to arshalahi.com/deals and you can join our mailing list, or you can just go to arshalahi.com and then log in your details. We'll send you deals pretty much every day. So if you're not on there, then that's fine. So Azu has asked a question, in an increasingly more competitive market, how do you manage to tenant your rooms given there's so much more choice for potential tenants?
Just sometimes you just have to either bring your room up to standard, like do something, uplift the room, or you just got to drop the point of entry. That's what I've learned.
Okay, so we're talking about drop the point of entry just so that people understand basically.
Point of entry, okay. Some people take deposits. You can take half a deposit and half the first month's rent, or you can say, no deposits, or you can take just half of the first month's rent. There's different ways. It's just about touching all bases and seeing what works. Or you might have to scrap the admin fee.
Okay, fantastic. So Phil says, where do you advertise for your tenants? I'm assuming you're using a spare room like everyone else. Is that correct?
Yes, spare room, Gumtree, the normal portals.
Okay, so you're using spare room, Gumtree. Are you using places like Open Rent and places like that?
Open Rent as well, yeah. We use Open. Open Rent has brought us a lot of leads too, if I'm honest.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so right. I suppose we've kind of covered all the questions because, sorry, Michael, I was about to call you Kazim. We've gone through pretty much. So hang on. So Warren's asked a question: what costs do you pay out to the agent involved? So the agent that you've had there, have you had to pay any costs there? So for argument's sake, have you had to pay a referencing fee?
Yeah, just referencing fee. That was the only cost that we really had to pay: referencing fee and the first month's deposit.
Okay, so Irfan has asked the question: in a HMO, can you rent the rooms out short-term using Airbnb, kind of like a B&B? So have you, in essence, Irfan, what you're running it as, or what you were asking is, can you run it as almost like a service accommodation unit? I'd be extremely careful, just purely because you're then turning, in essence, service accommodation runs under separate planning class, and that's the correct and the politically correct answer. You just will be extremely careful, because if you're running it as a guest house or bed and breakfast, that falls under a separate planning class, and you're not running it as a HMO. As you know, HMOs can run as a HMO up to a certain level, and then anything after that you have to go for planning permission. Whereas if you're running it as a guest house, that may require some further thought of planning. So question is, Have you made any mistakes so far, and what's been the biggest mistakes that you've learned from?
Mistakes, biggest mistake I've learned from so far. Okay, I would say I didn't, when I got my first rent to rent, I didn't start advertising for it from when I first got it, kind of thing. I kind of left the advertising a bit late, but in hindsight, I would have had to because I had to decorate the property. So just marketing, really. I should have been marketing from before.
Okay, so you lost a couple of weeks or a couple of months because you weren't proactive on the marketing. And
Exactly.
that's a good lesson. To be fair, if you're looking to take a property on, the one thing I would say to you is get it listed straight away. Don't wait for the contracts to be signed, because by that point you could have 2 or 3 tenants lined up.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so that kind of brings us to a close, guys. So, Michael, I want to say thank you for being online. Thanks for coming on and sharing some wisdom. I'm sure these guys have found taken. So sorry, the last question that Phil's coming. He goes, I know you sort of answered about the agent fee, but surely you were paying them a yearly monthly finding fee, like 5% for non-management. You don't? No. Okay. So Phil, let me just elaborate on that. So there's 3 people involved in the transaction. So there's the landlord who owns the property, then there's the agent that's managing it on behalf of the landlord, and then there's Michael. So Michael will rent the property off the letting agent on behalf of the landlord. Now, Michael will still pay his rent direct to the agent, and the agent will then take their 10% and then deduct all the fees and then give it to the landlord. So Michael doesn't specifically pay the agent anything, because traditionally, as a traditional tenant, the agent will make their money in the middle from the landlord. Does that make sense? So there aren't any other fees. The agent will make their fees off Michael for referencing and credit checks, etc., but nothing else. Okay. So here's the last question for you, Michael. Jackie is coming with the last question. Has he ever experienced not having tenants in the property for up to 6 months? What's been your longest void period for a room?
We had, this is actually funny. We had a room, a property that was void for like 3 weeks. The week before we had to pay the landlord, we filled up 4 rooms in one day. And that's because we changed the way we market the room. That's when I found out about open rent. So
Okay,
no, months though, 6 months is no.
Okay, perfect. So guys, on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much to Michael. You've enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully everyone's enjoyed it. Everyone's taken great content. Thank you both. So everyone's really enjoyed it. Michael, thanks very much for coming online. As always, a real inspiration. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. It's a successful formula what you've created. It's like a bike. The first one, trying to learn the way around it is slightly difficult, but once you've started to get your momentum, property 1 lands, then property 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 will fall into place very quickly. So as a result, keep going, keep the momentum going. Don't let the momentum fall because you've got a few properties under your belt. Before you know it, you're going to have 10, 20 properties under your belt very quickly.
Yes.
So guys, on that note, I'm going to say thank you to everyone that's listened in. Thank you to Michael. If you've got any questions, you can come back to me directly, and you can have my contact details, which are on screen now. If you want to have a chat about the workshop that we're running on the 20th and 21st, more than happy to have a chat about that. We are going to close it on Tuesday, so if you like the thought of the workshop, now's your time to get in contact, or now's the time to get involved. But on that note, guys, I wish you all a very lovely rest of the evening. Have a great week ahead, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks, Michael. Take care. Good night. God bless.